This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
Interested by the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, the Prime Minister Sfirieib today had a telephone conversation with his Malian counterpart, Colonel Abdullah Maiga. The Army Security Services have received German national Ulamaskan Sinan, who had been abducted by an armed criminal group while in Niger. The 17th World Social Forum held in Cotonou, Benin has wound up after 4 days of discussions on political, economic, social, environmental challenges facing peoples, particularly in Africa and the Global South. Those were the major developments. Now the full news edition. Good afternoon. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has congratulated Algeria's women national football team following their historic achievement of qualifying for the 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup in Brazil, as well as reaching the semi-finals of the Africa Cup of Nations. President Tebboune congratulated the women's national team of football team on their historic qualification for the 2027 World Cup in Brazil and their well-deserved place in the AFCON semi-finals. He praised the players and the technical and administrative staff for their contribution to the achievement and wished the team further success in the remainder of the competition. Interested by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, the Prime Minister Sfirieib today had a telephone conversation with his Malian counterpart, Colonel Abdullah Maiga, during which the two sides reiterated their attachment to the brotherly relations existing between Algeria and Mali. They also emphasized the relations of good neighborliness linking the two countries, as well as the will of the two leaders to give a fresh impulse to the bilateral relations and boost cooperation in various fields. In this respect, Prime Minister Sfirieib extended an invitation to his Malian counterpart to pay a working visit to Algeria. The two sides also exchanged views on regional and international issues of common concern and insisted on the two countries' ambition to turn the Sahel region into a space of exchange, cooperation and development, and a safe and secure area. The Army Security Services have received German national Ulamaskan Sinan, who had been abducted by an armed criminal group while in Niger. Mr. Sinan, who is currently in good health, was transferred aboard a special flight from the secondary deployment base in Engezem in the 6th Military Region to Bouvarik Air Base in the 1st Military Region, where he was subsequently be handed over to the German authorities. The German national described the circumstances of his abduction and detention by his captors for approximately 2 weeks. He also expressed his sincere thanks to the Algerian military authorities for the warm welcome and care he received, as well as his appreciation for the efforts of the country's highest authorities, led by President Abdelmajid Tebboune.
I spent 4 days in the desert with the first group that kidnapped me. They then handed me over to the second group, which held me for 12 or 13 days under very poor conditions. I want to highlight the important role and the tremendous work carried out by the Algerian army. It was an exceptional operation, especially given the conditions of the environment. I thank the Algerian government and the military authorities, and I'm very grateful for the efforts they made to save my life. Without these efforts, I would not be alive today. Once again, I thank the President of the Republic, the government, and the Algerian army, and I'm very grateful to them.
That was Ulamaskan Sinan, the German national who had been abducted by an armed criminal group while in Niger. The Central Office for the Prevention and Repression of Corruption, OCRC, took part as a member of the Algerian delegation in a regional workshop on the malicious use of artificial intelligence in financial crimes held at the National Anti-Corruption Academy in Egypt. Organized by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime in coordination with Egyptian and Palestinian anti-corruption authorities, the workshop brought together 62 participants from 22 countries, including law enforcement and anti-corruption agencies from the Middle East and North Africa, as well as international experts and private sector AI specialists. The participants discussed new criminal methods involving AI in corruption, fraud and money laundering, and explored practical ways to identify and counter these threats. The workshop concluded with the adoption of recommendations to strengthen international cooperation, exchange expertise and best practices, enhance operational coordination between competent authorities, and involve the private sector in tackling emerging forms of crime. The 17th World Social Forum held in Cotonou, Benin has wound up after 4 days of discussions on political, economic, social and environmental challenges facing peoples, particularly in Africa and the Global South. More details in this report by Mohamed Khatel.
The participants addressed issues including climate justice, food sovereignty, women's rights, migration, social and solidarity economy, colonialism, foreign interference, and the people's right to self-determination. Algeria took part with a 120-member civil society delegation, characterized by a strong presence of young people who highlighted the country's experience in youth empowerment and their role in national development. The Algerian delegation said its participation was active, contributing to debates and exchanging experiences with representatives from other countries, while stressing the importance of investing in African youth through education, training and greater participation in development. The forum also featured an Algeria Day showcasing Algerian culture and the country's support for just causes. Particular attention was given to liberation causes, including the Palestinian cause and the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination and independence.
Turning now to international news, the Spanish media RTVE said that the migration crisis, which hit Ceuta later last month after over 60,000 illegal migrants entered the Spanish enclave, has set a serious setback to the Moroccan propaganda and revealed the authorities' contempt towards the Moroccan citizens. More details in this report by my colleague Mohamed Khatel.
In an article released on its website, the Spanish media stressed that the image showing thousands of Moroccans fleeing their country dealt a blow to the monarchist propaganda, which has always sought to sell fictional achievements designed to essentially benefit the people. Moroccan investigation journalist Hicham Mansouri, who is exiled in France, was quoted by TRVE as saying that the images showing children, elder people and minors have even hidden the recent success by the national team during the World Cup. In this respect, Moroccan economist Fouad Abdelmoumni, for his part, already predict that the propaganda waged by the Moroccan authorities after the Ceuta crisis would try and bet on uncertainty when dealing with the state's responsibility regarding such a tragedy by trying to minimize its extent. They would also try and defend major strategic schemes with the aim of forcing Spain to relinquish the enclaves and the neighboring islands.
One Palestinian has been killed in attacks launched by the Israeli occupying forces against various areas of the Gaza Strip. Several others were wounded, including some seriously, in the Israeli attacks which targeted the central region of Deir el-Balah, as well as Rafah and Khan Yunis in the southern part of the enclave. In Yemen, 4 government forces have been killed in attacks carried out by the Houthis in the port city of Mocha on the Red Sea. Military sources were quoted by media saying that 20 others were wounded in the drone and missile strikes that also hit Kokha, south of the port city of Hodeidah. The spokesman for the Houthis claimed responsibility for the attacks, which he assured had targeted notably an armed depot in the area of Mocha, which is under the government forces' control. Earlier, he affirmed that an oil refinery was hit in Jazan in Saudi Arabia's southwestern part. 4 days ago, at least 58 government troops were killed in an attack launched against a military camp in the central part of the country. Responsibility for the attack was claimed by the Houthis. At least 8 people were killed and another person wounded in a recent terrorist attack in Cameroon's far north region. The attack took place in the village of Kangaliri in Mayosava division. 6 people were killed on the spot, while 2 of the 3 others were seriously wounded later died from their injuries. One injured person remained under medical care. The attackers reportedly raided the village at night before fleeing. The exact circumstances of the attack and the identities of the victims remain unclear. Cameroon's far north region continues to face frequent terrorist incursions despite military operations by the Cameroonian army and its partners in the multinational joint task force operating in the Lake Chad basin. The Sudanese Doctors Network has announced that 4 people were killed and several others wounded in an attack carried out by the Rapid Support Paramilitary Forces (RSF) in the El Tamid area of North Kordofan State. The NGO said in a statement that an RSF unit recently attacked El Tamid, killing 4 people, wounding others, and looting residents' property. The network condemned the attack as part of a series of assaults targeting civilians, saying such violence is spreading fear and forcing residents to flee. It called for an end to attacks against civilians and urged the international and regional communities to pressure the RSF to stop violations and ensure those responsible are brought to justice. The attack comes as the Sudanese army continues to advance in North Kordofan after announcing on July 30th that it had regained control of Bara, Jebra Sheikh and Sayala following fighting with the RSF. The 3 Kordofan states have continued fighting since October 2025. According to UN estimates, Sudan's wider conflict between the army and the RSF, which began in April 2023, has killed tens of thousands and displaced around 13 million people. The Secretary General of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies of IFRC, Jagan Shapagan, has warned of a possible intensification of the El Niño climate phenomenon and called for stronger early preparedness measures. He stressed that El Niño could have serious consequences on communities already facing hunger and repeated climate shocks. He highlighted the importance of anticipatory action, linking climate forecasts and scientific indicators to early response measures and emergency funding. Mr. Shabagan also called for ensuring that local response teams have the necessary resources, stressing that early warnings must lead to clear or to early action. With this last piece of news, we come to the end of our news bulletin. Stay tuned to Radio Algeria International.
Today we chose for you the coastal city of Oran, one of the most beautiful cities in northern Africa. Santa Cruz is a historic site that you should visit once in the city of Oran. Asia Bika will tell you more about it in the following report.
The majestic Jebel Marjajou overlooks the city of Oran, extending to the west, dominating the Oran region of Algeria. The steep rocky cracks of the mountain range eventually taper westward, forming a long flat plateau. Perched on top of Jebel Marjajou is the imposing Spanish-built Santa Cruz fortress, with the Our Lady of Santa Cruz Basilica and Nerbi standing as reminders of past conflicts and the seeking of solace. Oran is believed to have been established by Moorish and Andalusian traders at the end of the 1st century, but really started to develop as a strategic settlement when captured by the Spanish in 1509. The Santa Cruz fortress, Santa Cruz being Spanish for Holy Cross, was built in 1563 under the direction of the first Marquis of Santa Cruz, Don Alvaro de Bazan. The strategic position of the fortress at more than 1,000 feet above sea level allowed a wide view of the surrounding area and the Mediterranean Ocean shoreline. Following a battle against John of Austria, in which this son of Charles I led a flotilla consisting of 33 galleys against the Algerians, the Spanish set about reinforcing the Santa Cruz fortress to accommodate and thereby protect their city officials and governors. The circumference of the immensely strong, tall and thick walls of the fortress measured more than 2.5 kilometers, with strong towers at regular intervals. Within these strong fortified walls was a central castle serving as the headquarters for the Spanish governor. The beautifully preserved Santa Cruz fortress at the summit of Jebel Marjajou now welcomes visitors to explore the fascinating museum within its walls. The strategic position of Jbel Marjaju has played a vital role in the history of the area, especially with regard to how military operations were carried out over the years in defense of the city. For example, an account of the conflict that took place between British and American forces that landed at the nearby port city of Ezio on November 8, 1942, as a prelude to the invasion of Italy during World War II, reveals that at the valley formed by Jbel Marjaju and Jbel Santan allowed a vantage point from which invading forces would be vulnerable to counterattack or defensive action. While the defenders of Oran used their knowledge of the terrain of Jbel Marjaju and its surroundings as best they could, the city was seized by the Allied military forces within a matter of days. Certainly, battles of that magnitude no longer disturb Oran and its many inhabitants. Nevertheless, the majestic Jbel Marjaju still stands guard over this fascinating Algerian city.
Let me tell you more about the city of Oran. Oran is perhaps most famous for being one of the birthplaces of the Rai music style. This inventive form of music is one of the more modern music styles that is popularly enjoyed in the various parts of Algeria and all over the world. The easygoing and liberal atmosphere that pervades the city of Oran is clearly evident in this style of music. Initially performed only by men, it soon became the domain of many women, many of whom have become very bit as popular as their male counterparts. Founded by Moorish and Andalusian traders around 937 AD, the city has been in existence for a long time. Due to its position on the coast, it quickly developed into a city with a thriving trade industry and established strong business ties with Spain. Unfortunately, it wasn't too long before the Spanish took occupation of Oran. This soon changed when invading Ottoman forces captured the city, but the Spanish rose to reclaim the city 2 years later, only to abandon it when it suffered from an earthquake in 1790. The French eventually occupied the city in the 19th century. Oran is a lot larger than many think, the second largest city in Algeria. It is an industrial, cultural, and educational center for the country. Though part of it is covered by high-rise apartment buildings and ordinary homes, there are older parts that make for interesting sightseeing. The Great Mosque, built in 1769, is a good place to start. It is open to the public, which is quite unusual in this part of the world. The Marabout Sidi Muhammad al-Huwairi is a very good example of Andalusian architecture. For all things historical, the Dmer Museum has exhibitions that span thousands of years. The Cathedral de Sacré-Cœur is a beautiful old building that has been converted into a public library. Though Oran is a coastal town, the beaches in the immediate vicinity of the city are not terrible good. However, a short trip away from the hustle and bustle will leave you with miles of beautiful sand and refreshing seawater. It may be a bit out of the way, but Oran is a great place to visit while exploring Algeria.
Hello and welcome to your weekly program Technoverse and the Science Planet on Radio Algeria International. As countries around the world work to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and combat climate change, much attention has been given to renewable energy, electric vehicles, and green hydrogen. But another technology is increasingly becoming part of the global conversation: carbon capture. Rather than replacing fossil fuels altogether, carbon capture aims to prevent carbon dioxide, the main greenhouse gas responsible for global warming, from entering the atmosphere in the first place. Supporters see it as a way to reduce emissions from industries that are difficult to decarbonize, while critics argue that it should complement rather than replace the transition to cleaner energy. But how does carbon capture actually work? Can carbon dioxide really be stored safely underground? And what role is Algeria playing in this evolving field? In this episode, we explore the science behind carbon capture, its opportunities and challenges, and Algeria's experience and ongoing efforts in this important area of energy transition. To understand carbon capture, we first need to understand carbon dioxide, or CO2. Carbon dioxide is a natural part of Earth's atmosphere and plays an important role in supporting life. Plants absorb it during photosynthesis, while humans and animals release it through breathing. The problem arises when large amounts of carbon dioxide are produced by human activities, especially from burning coal, oil, and natural gas for electricity, transportation, and industry. These additional emissions trap heat in the atmosphere, contributing to global warming and climate change. Carbon capture is a technology designed to reduce these emissions. Instead of allowing carbon dioxide to escape through factory smokestacks or natural gas processing facilities, specialized systems capture the gas before it reaches the atmosphere. There are two terms often used in this field: carbon capture and storage, or CCS, refer to capturing carbon dioxide and storing it permanently underground. And there is carbon capture, utilization and storage, known as CCUS, goes one step further by allowing some of the captured carbon dioxide to be used in industrial processes before any remaining gas is safely stored. The process can be understood in three main steps: capture, transport, and storage. First, carbon dioxide is separated from other gases produced during industrial activities such as cement manufacturing, steel production, electricity generation, or natural gas processing. In the next step, the captured carbon dioxide is compressed into a dense fluid and transported, usually through pipelines, although ships or trucks can also be used in some cases. And finally, it is injected deep underground into carefully selected geological formations, often several kilometers below the Earth's surface. These rock formations have trapped oil, natural gas, and other substances for millions of years, making them suitable for long-term carbon storage. Not all captured carbon dioxide is stored immediately. In some cases, it can be used to produce synthetic fuels, certain chemicals, construction materials, or beverages. However, experts note that these applications use only a relatively small share of captured carbon dioxide compared with the volumes needed to significantly reduce global emissions. For many scientists, carbon capture is particularly important for industries where reducing emissions is especially difficult, including cement, steel, and chemical manufacturing. These sectors require high-temperature industrial processes that cannot always be powered by electricity alone. Although carbon capture has been studied for decades, its large-scale deployment still faces important challenges. One of the biggest obstacles is cost. Capturing, compressing, transporting, and storing carbon dioxide requires advanced technology and significant investment. As a result, carbon capture is currently more expensive than many other methods of reducing emissions. Another challenge is infrastructure. Carbon capture requires pipelines, storage facilities, monitoring systems, and suitable geological formations to safely contain carbon dioxide over the long term. Scientists also emphasize that carbon capture is not a substitute for reducing fossil fuel consumption. International organizations, including the United Nations and the International Energy Agency, generally view carbon capture as one tool among many, alongside renewable energy, energy efficiency, and cleaner technologies to help reduce emissions, particularly in industries where alternatives remain limited. Despite these challenges, governments and energy companies around the world are investing in new carbon capture projects, while researchers continue working to improve efficiency and lower costs. In this global context, Algeria has practical experience with carbon capture and continues to explore its role within broader decarbonization efforts. One of the country's most notable achievements was the carbon storage project in Insaleh, where carbon dioxide separated during natural gas production was injected into deep underground geological formations. The project, carried out between 2004 and 2011, is widely recognized as one of the world's early industrial-scale carbon storage initiatives and provided valuable scientific and operational experience. Today, Algeria continues to integrate decarbonization into its long-term energy strategy. Sonatrach has announced several initiatives aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions, improving energy efficiency, lowering methane emissions, and studying carbon management technologies. In recent years, the company has also strengthened international cooperation through agreements with foreign partners. Among them is a memorandum of understanding signed with Germany's VNG AG to explore cooperation in areas including carbon management, methane emission reduction, green hydrogen, and other technologies supporting the energy transition. These initiatives reflect Algeria's ongoing efforts to strengthen technical expertise, expand international cooperation, and assess the potential role that carbon capture technologies could play in supporting lower carbon industrial development. Many experts believe carbon capture will not solve climate change on its own. Instead, it is increasingly viewed as one part of a broader strategy that includes renewable energy, hydrogen, energy efficiency, cleaner industrial processes, and innovation. The future of carbon capture will depend on technological progress, supportive policies, continued investment, and international cooperation. It will also depend on ensuring that captured carbon dioxide can be transported and stored safely while remaining economically viable. For Algeria, continued research, international partnerships, and experience gained from previous projects provide a foundation for evaluating how carbon capture technologies may contribute to future decarbonization efforts alongside the country's renewable energy ambitions. Carbon capture reminds us that tackling climate change is not about relying on a single solution. Instead, it requires a combination of technologies, innovation, and international cooperation. While renewable energy and green hydrogen are reshaping the future of power generation, carbon capture offers another approach, helping industries reduce emissions where cleaner alternatives are not yet fully available. Algeria's experience in carbon capture, together with its ongoing international cooperation and decarbonization initiatives, reflects its continued efforts to support lower carbon industrial development.